Can you hear me okay? Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is Larry Seabrack. I'm the president of the Art Alliance for Contemporary Glass, the Aacg. Welcome to our weekly meetup. Today is November 5th, 2021. We meet every Friday at 1 p.m. and the program is usually for members only. However, today's meetup is open to the public because of this special program honoring a special community arts-based organization. Each year since 1991, the Aacg has selected an organization to be honored for its contributions to the contemporary glass world. The organization receives an unrestricted grant from us and is usually invited to present a public program at a symposium at SOFA or Intersect Design Chicago. Since the cancellation of the art fair because of the pandemic, we are actually reaching a larger audience virtually for this year's award program. Through the efforts of our awards committee, chaired by Rick Heath, the Aacg 2021 award is being granted to GlassRoots, a community-based arts organization from Newark, New Jersey. Usually at this time, if we were live, there would be a loud applause. So everyone put your hands together and recognize. Thank you. They have received our certificate and a check for $5,000. Obviously, we could not do this in person this year. In my official Aacg capacity, it gives me great pleasure to recognize and honor GlassRoots, who is celebrating 20 years of transforming the power of the glass arts experience and its impact on the Newark community. During the development of this program, it has been an honor for me to get to know GlassRoots Executive Director, Carolyn Losos, who will tell us the story of the past, present, and future of GlassRoots. Carol has spent her career in cultural organizations directing and developing programs that create access and opportunity. You're in for a treat to listen to the GlassRoots story. Carol, it's all yours.
Thank you, Larry. And thanks to all of you. And can I get thumbs up? Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep.
Great, thanks. So I want to begin by telling you about my necklace that I hope you can see. It's red, it's a flower. For my family and friends, some of whom are on the call, they're like, of course, Carol's wearing that necklace. Red's her favorite color. And even better, if they knew about it, the artist goes by the name Red. And naturally, they wouldn't be wrong. I like red, I like the necklace. But I chose this necklace today because it tells a story about GlassRoots. And that's what I'm going to do in the next few minutes, is tell you a story about GlassRoots. I'm going to begin and end with a piece of glass art, because that's, of course, who I'm talking to today. And they're really two beautiful pieces of glass art. It's also going to begin and end with stories of two of our GlassRoots students who are really representative of our mission and what we do. So now I'm going to do my best to share my screen and hopefully get sound. And I picked the wrong thing. Hold on. I need the PowerPoint. No, not leave meeting. Share. There we go. Can everyone see the PowerPoint now? Did I successfully share? Thumb up. Thank you. Okay. So here's where I'm going to start. Meet the artist of this necklace. His name is Joshua Red Jackson. He is an emerging multimedia artist. And he happened to be in the neighborhood just yesterday, and he stopped by GlassRoots just to say hi. And I think that alone tells us a little bit about GlassRoots, how our former students find us a community where they're welcome and they consider us a second home. I was really grateful that Red stopped by because I had a couple questions for him and I was trying to get a hold of him. I had purchased this necklace that he had made. I'd purchased it at our fall silent auction. The name of the piece is Inferi, Red made it in our Flame studio this summer when he was learning about frit and color and working as an intern studio assistant. He also made a companion piece that's blue and has an aquatic title that I confess I've forgotten. I also wanted Red not just to tell me a story, but I wanted to make sure that I had his permission to share his story with all of you today. And Red, as I knew, of course, said yes, because he may be one of the best ambassadors about our story that's out there. He loves to share GlassRoots with people. So he told me his background. He first walked into GlassRoots in his late teens. He's a native of Newark. He had just left college. He'd started, but as he said, it wasn't a good fit for him at that point in his life. But at college, he'd taken a blacksmithing class and he missed fire. He was talking with a friend in Newark who said, "I know just the place for you." And as he told me yesterday, he came in, he saw the glass blowing for the very first time. And these are his exact words. He said, "It looked like someone had the sun in their hands." He was hooked. But no surprise, because as we know, glass has magical powers. He took our scientific glass blowing course. Again, maybe not the perfect fit, but he learned how to make glass and he found his place. Instead of making the scientific glass, he spent his time making tiny glass swords. In fact, as part of that class, he had a chance to travel down to Princeton and meet Paul Stankard, who saw him working on making tiny glass swords in a class and told Red, and Red has never forgotten, and these were his words, "Your glass is going to change the world, and I can't wait to see it when it happens." GlassRoots is part of Red's journey. After the glass blowing class, the scientific glass making, he wanted to pursue art, but he didn't have the financial means to do that, and he found work in other areas. Fast forward a couple of years, last spring, during the pandemic, he was unemployed, looking for something to do, and he called us up. His next step on the GlassRoots journey, he participated this summer in a 12-week program where he learned glass making and life skills here at GlassRoots with other young emerging artists from Newark, followed up by a 7-week intensive residential craft classes at Peters Valley in rural Western New Jersey. But Red's story isn't over with GlassRoots. He came back, he had some time left in the summer, and he interned as a studio assistant and continued to hone his glassmaking skills. This fall, we're going to continue to work with him, our staff, on what's next for Red, because as he said, he's now determined to pursue a career in the arts. He just needs the time and the resources, and we're going to help him find those resources. He will always be part of the GlassRoots community. He's always going to be part of our GlassRoots story. So let me talk about that. Our story. What I want to do is not just tell Red's story, but the story of GlassRoots as an institution. So I'm going to begin just to quickly tell you with the kind of who, what, when, where of GlassRoots, its founding, where we are today, our challenges, the kind of narrative and our opportunities that we've embraced, and then the what's next, the teaser that leads on to volume 2, which we'll come back to, in a few years. Before I do that, I want to make sure that I properly thank Aacg and all of you. And if we were in Chicago, you would be presenting me this in person, but I did want to share the certificate that was mailed to us. I can't begin to describe the honor that this is for GlassRoots and for me to represent the organization. It's such an incredible list of awardees in the past. And to be added to that list as a community arts and education organization is so powerful and means so much to us. I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And we are so pleased with this honor. I feel like a bit of an imposter accepting it because I just began here at the beginning of the summer. I happened to be the executive director in the seat when you called. And so I just want to make sure that I'm thanking many of the GlassRoots board and staff who are on this call, the students and the volunteers, because of course they brought us to this point to be worthy of this award. So who are we? Like any nonprofit, we have a board. And so these pictures are a little bit old because, of course, we haven't brought ourselves all together in person to be able to take a picture in a while, but they're also a teaser for what's going to come later, why these pictures were taken. There's a picture of our board from a few years ago. A shout out to our Chief Ambassador and current board president, Roger Tucker. And on the smaller picture, we include Pat Kettenring, our founder, who I'm going to talk about, and Dina Lowenbach, who has the pleasure of serving on our board for 20 years and is on the call. So many thanks to Dina. We could not have a better board member. She's been every position on the board and she would be telling this story, I confess, better than myself today. So thank you to all. Our staff. GlassRoots has an incredible, passionate staff. No surprise, they're passionate about glass. When I sat down with them when I started, I said, what's your favorite part of the job? And each and every one of them told me it was teaching middle and high school students. End of sentence. They speak the mission, they live it every day. We're a staff of about a dozen. As I said, I'm newest to the team. About a third of our staff has been here more than 10 years, which is pretty incredible. And this one's a spoiler alert. 6 of the people in this picture, including Red, started out as students in our program. And that's really an important thread of our story, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We are our students. And we have a lot to offer, which I'll describe in a second, but we begin as a place for students ages 10 to 26, as a glass art studio for students to make art. And I'm just going to pause there for a second because that's very powerful. We don't begin as a public access for artists or for adults. We begin as public access for students, and specifically the students of Newark. We, of course, welcome professional artists, and we, of course, welcome aspiring artists and everybody who wants to just learn about glass or experience. But the start is our youth, and that's really essential, a core part of our story. We welcome artists, as I say, including all of those future artists emerging. And these are our students from our past summer fellowship program who are looking forward to careers in the arts. And just a quick slide, our supporters, we couldn't be here 20 years in with a focus on arts and the Newark community without ongoing support from our city, from the state, and from all of the sponsors and supporters who make us possible to do this year in and year out. So what do we do? Our mission. And I don't usually like to read slides, but I'm going to just read this one. GlassRoots ignites and builds the creative and economic vitality of Greater Newark with a focus on underserved youth and young adults through the transformative power of the glass art experience. This mission, I can see through the history, has been tweaked through the years, but essentially it's remained unchanged since its founding 20 years ago. Of course, we begin with the glass arts as what we do. You'll notice that creative and economic vitality are included in this mission. So we talk about what we're teaching around arts, also the business of arts, and how the arts are essential economically to a community, the intertwined of them all. We start with a focus on young people, and we start in Newark, where we're based. I'm going to do a quick roll of the types of programs. I said we focus on students, but of course we offer much more. As we say, we have something for everyone, ages 10 to 110. Field trips, both in arts and in science. We are, I'm not sure how familiar everybody in, but a term that's thrown around a lot now in education is STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And glass is the perfect STEAM opportunity. You can't do glass, you can't make glass art without science, whether you know you're doing it or not. So we have field trips for Newark students and the surrounding areas. School residencies. We send teaching artists into schools throughout Newark and surrounding communities to do multi-week programs. They're usually mosaics, and we have mosaic murals on the walls of many of the schools all around Newark that the students have designed and created along with our teaching artists. Professional development for teachers. We bring teachers in to experience glass and fire firsthand and talk about how it aligns with their curriculum, not just the arts and science, but history and math as well. After school programs, like the one, not Red, we'll get to some other folks, our business and entrepreneurship programs I'm gonna be talking about later, which a lot of our artists on staff have participated in. Summer camp through Newark, through other community groups, and of course we run our own summer camp. Youth leadership programs, our studio assistantship program, for example, post-secondary career programs, that's what Red participated in. It's also where we're going to be looking to build some of our new programs as we move forward. Community events, we love going on the road. In fact, we have a portable hot shop that we take with us to community events, our street fairs, National Night Out, and most recently, of course, pumpkin patches. Next stop are some holiday community events as well. Classes, I can't tell you how many people when I started this job said I always wanted to learn how to blow glass. And so classes for all adults ages 10 and above, after school, weekends, in the evenings, etc. Classes for community groups. I'm really proud of some programs that we've developed in the past, really during the pandemic in the past couple of years. Our latest is called Healing Hurt, which is a trauma-informed glass arts program developed in conjunction with a local hospital here in Newark, and a shorter version of program we call Meditative Mosaics for frontline workers, which we've been able to collaborate with our neighbors. And finally, corporate team building. Panasonic, Prudential, Audible, some of our local corporate neighbors come over and bring teams for team building exercises. This is the creative. We talked about the economic vitality in our mission, and we do that through what we call our earned income resources. We do rent to artists as one. We rent our furnace to artists because, of course, as you know, not everyone has a furnace in their studios. We also have a gift shop that's growing. We're moving from selling art we've made tangentially to making art to sell. And you see a couple of our statement jewelry that we just sold through our auction this fall. Get in touch with me if you'd like one for yourself. And commissions. So we do pretty much, if you receive an award in Essex County, it was probably made in Newark, made here at GlassRoots. Awards, team awards, galas, etc. And it's where we practice what we preach to our students when we talk about entrepreneurship and art as an economic model. We practice that as well. So that's where, as you all well know, is here in Newark. So let me give you a little quick background on Newark. 1 second to get my stats. So we have been in Newark for 20 years. And to quote the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, from his State of the City speech just a few weeks ago, he said, "From Newark and proud of it." And we are very proud of our roots here. Newark is 355 years old. For those, I know that you're from all over the country, so excuse my my tourist advertisement for Newark right now. It has a deep cultural story of arts that range from the visual arts to the musical, literature, spoken word, goes deeply back and is really seen as part of the story. And we have a mayor who's an artist and from an arts family who values the role that the arts can play and the importance in its story. According to the 2020 census, Newark's population stands at 311,549, and Newark could not have been prouder to maintain the place as the largest city in the state of New Jersey when that came out. According to the census, And this is important to think about who we serve. 50% of the population identifies as Black or African American, and 36% identifies as Hispanic or Latino. Newark was hit hard by the pandemic, like all large urban cities in this country, and had to respond both to healthcare crisis and everything else that was related to it. The arts were brought along, and again, gets back to the importance. So that's the background of who we are. We began. So let me go back to our origin story. This is Pat Kettenring. She's our founder. Pat was a glass collector and also a business instructor at Rutgers in Newark. She was on a trip out west and she visited the glass studio Hilltop, which was a glass studio located in a school in Tacoma, Washington. And she saw a place where they'd created a glass studio with the idea as a kind of alternative high school model to serve students who were not traditionally successful in school, and a population that reminded Pat of Newark and who were the students here. And so she said, let's do it. I'm going to bring this back to Newark. And she did just that. She gathered together a group of artists and glass collectors, educators, and professionals. This was 1999. Her vision was to offer glassmaking and, remember, she was a business professor, business skills to ages 10 to 17 to wind them together. She created a board of trustees, and by 2001, GlassRoots had its 501c3 nonprofits tax status and a place to work, a kind of storefront in downtown Newark, right near Rutgers, not far from the headquarters for Prudential, just to give you a kind of idea, a couple blocks from the Newark Museum, now the Newark Museum of Art, not so far from NJPAC, the New Jersey Performing Arts Center. At first, she opened with a flat shop, fusing was added, flame working, and eventually it took a few years to raise the money, but a hot shop was added as well, a glass blowing shop. I'm going to stop for a moment and stop sharing the screen because I just want to talk, and then I'll come back to it and not talk over the PowerPoint, and talk about what it meant to start this kind of organization 20 years ago, and what she was facing in terms of, she and the board were facing in terms of challenges and opportunities. Let me say, I love founder stories. I love that if you build it, they will come. I used to, in my last job, I worked with theater educators and talked about theater. And there's stories again and again about these incredible visionaries who plop a whole theater festival down in the middle of nowhere. And if you build it, they will come. And so Pat had this vision, and it had a lot of challenges if you think about it. Let's begin. Production of glass art is expensive. Just the tools that you need, think about the 2 furnaces you have to start with for a glass blowing studio, one of which is going to run 24/7. Some of you know, others can only imagine what our gas bill looks like month in and month out. The materials are expensive. Glass that you need is expensive, and you need different kinds of glass for the furnace versus the flame work versus our mosaic glass shop. How about the danger of glass? And just think about it. What person in their right mind puts fire 2,000 degrees of heat in the hands of tweens and teens, in the hands of students who have traditionally been identified by a term I'm not fond of, but traditionally I've identified as at risk? Glass, in terms of art education, requires a lot of staff. Because of the fire and because of the newness, you need to make sure you have enough staff on hand to work with the students. And then there's one I just really started to describe to myself as I was putting these talking points together. Let's talk about the lack of market need for a glass art studio. In what model does a business professor identify a market that it is in need of a glass blowing studio? In fact, a glass blowing studio for youth. Glass, just to get down to the basics, and I see it in articles and talked about in the community that I work in, glass is white and elitist. The artists, the art schools, the glass, the craft, nonprofit studio, community education programs is all overwhelmingly white. But Newark is not. Newark is brown and black. Newark is under-resourced. Newark has a high level of poverty. Who puts a glass studio there? Access to glass is prohibitive. The costs, the lack of people of color in the field, for young students and emerging artists to envision themselves, and the dependence on unpaid opportunities as an entryway into the field all raise the barrier for students and emerging artists. So why'd she do it? Why was the team so dedicated to building a glass art studio in Newark? What were and are the opportunities for just such an organization? I could wax on about why arts and arts education are important. I'm going to assume we've all bought into that on this call about the economic development that an arts organization brings to a community, the need for high quality arts education for the students in a community, communities that are under-resourced. And let me just say, everyone should have access to the arts and access to high quality arts education. End of sentence, full stop. I'm going to assume everybody here agrees with that. If not, talk to me offline and I'll give you a long story on it. I was trained as an art historian, and as Larry said, I've worked in arts education and nonprofits my career. In the last 5 months, I've been new to glass and glass arts education. This is so cool or hot, but glass is better. Glass does everything that arts does, but more. It's like supersized and more powerful. Glass is magic. The fire and the glass and putting it in the hands of youth, it's literally transformative. The glass is transformative, the experience of it is. Why? Educationally, glass is STEAM. It is that kind of nexus of arts and science. It's beautiful and mesmerizing. I could show you photo after photo of our students showing focus that we talk about a lot. And of course, it's creativity. Glass is a team sport. It teaches collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. And glass is empowering. We trust students with fire. Remember, many of these students are non-traditional learners. They're used to hearing the words no, and not once, but probably in triplicate. No, no, no. We tell them, we trust you with this powerful tool. We trust you to use fire that is indeed dangerous to create. And just finally, I think about the statement that Pat and that founding team was making when they made by rooting a glass art studio in Newark. Because a glass studio is a special place. I'm not going to say it's unique, but they're not all over. You don't have a lot of glass studios. You don't have them everywhere. It wasn't something that was just missing from Newark. A lot of places don't have it. So by saying, we're going to create this glass studio, something that most suburbs don't have, and dedicate it to youth and put it into Newark, makes Newark a special, deserving place as well. So, having given you my diatribe on glass, let me get back to my story and my PowerPoint. Share screen. PowerPoint. Okay, so on from Pat. What I want to do now is tell you about kind of 4 threads or plots in the story of GlassRoots, and about who we are and what we've done and what sets GlassRoots apart. So quick statistics, in a non-COVID year, we reach about 2,000 students a year. Families, aspiring and professional artists, Girl Scouts, community groups, corporate groups, all of those people who attend all of our classes. They range from someone who might see a demo on one of our community events or on-site here at GlassRoots to students who return week after week for an entire year as part of an after-school program. So what makes this special? So it's this kind of journey that we've created. And this is a map that one of our teaching artists created for us. We begin with field trips. Middle and high school students attend, kind of one-off visits, and they experience while they're here. They'll be here for about 2 to 3 hours. They'll make a bead necklace and a mosaic and walk away. They'll have handled the torches, and they may have watched the glass blowing demonstration. I know my daughter's not on this call, so I can tell the story. My first exposure to GlassRoots is when my daughter came for a field trip here. She was in middle school, and her science teacher brought the class. She came home and she said to me, "Mom, you can't believe what we did today. They let us play with fire." Now, I'm certain they did not play with fire, but they worked with fire to create glass beads. She said, "They let us play with fire when the school won't even let us climb a tree at recess." I will tell you, when I was interviewing for the position, my daughter was part of my research. She could remember every part of that field trip. She produced the beads and the mosaic that she made. It is by far and away the most memorable field trip that she or any of my children have taken throughout school. Remember, glass is magic, and you're hooked. So after kind of field trips, we have what we've been described as our multi-visit after school and summer programs. I'm going to describe one of them in more details in a few minutes, our business and our entrepreneurship program. For those who are interested in more on the path perhaps to an arts degree, we have our arts career, we have our fellowship program, which we just ran this summer, in which 10 aspiring young artists from Newark experienced just what I described that Red did, classes here at GlassRoots, and then some other classes in Western New Jersey at another art school. Our newest program that we're developing as part of our journey that you're following is we're expanding what we're going to call our college and career programs. We're working on the name, but it's essentially working with these young students who are looking for a career in the arts and helping them identify what that track looks like and what they need to do, and then providing that kind of support network that can support them as they go along. So it's not ending the journey at, oh, look, their career's out there. It's helping them to say, so what do they look like? And it may be like a teaching artist like at GlassRoots, becoming a professional artist, or a whole array of arts adjacent careers. Remember the challenge. Glass is an overwhelmingly white field with a high barrier to entry, and we want to help change that narrative. My second story that I want to share with you, and I'm going to start by stopping talking for a minute and show you a video about our program and hope that it works. After I started, if you can put the thumbs up if the sound is working.
I believe that you can change the world one person at a time. And at GlassRoots, I've really had an opportunity to see that. If you have an electric bill and you didn't use as much electricity one month as you did another month, you still have to pay electricity. Okay, it might not be the exact same number. When you come into my class, you're going to see young people, and they're really grasping business concepts. They're looking at pricing, they're looking at costing, they're looking at who their target market is. And they're trying to pull all of that together in a way that's going to win them a competition at the end of the year.
Before GlassRoots, I really had no concept about or idea about glass blowing or how to start a business. And taking part in the B&E program was such an eye-opener, to the point where I'm even thinking about starting my own business with resin jewelry. So I really have to thank GlassRoots for that.
So whether they're in our business and entrepreneurship program or in a 10-week mosaic workshop at their school, they're learning essential skills that will carry them far in life.
We call that program Youth Entrepreneurial Spirit. Today, it is our founder program. It is our first program, the program that Pat started with, a program that combines business skills, a business class with a glass arts class and time in our art studios. It lasts almost the whole school year. It's been a core year after year of students that we've been bringing into our program. And as I said, this is one of our after schools. What they do is they come, they take business classes, they decide on a product that they would like to make, they prototype it in our shops, and then we're really excited this year that they're going to be selling on our online store, and that's an addition that we're added. They have to work on their public speaking skills because they're going to present their product to a kind of a team of judges, maybe not quite Shark Tank, but that they're going to need to present what they make. What sets this program apart from other kind of entrepreneurship or innovation programs is the making piece of it. And that's what drives it home. A lot of the programs that deal with entrepreneurship, you create a plan and a theory and maybe a model, but you don't actually make the prototype and the objects. And so that is again and again been a very successful component of that, is to make it real and drive it home. Entrepreneurship is really important, and it's something that's talked about a lot today, especially in urban areas and working with urban youth as another possibility of a way of owning this economic possibilities and looking at a way that you can make a difference and create your own pathway. And GlassRoots has really been doing this for 20 years now and will continue. Something else that happens when they make their prototypes is they learn that glass breaks. And they make it, the glass breaks, you figure out why, you hypothesize, you have to change the model, and you make it again. And maybe again, and maybe another time. In other words, beyond the marketing, the business planning, and the creativity, what this program is teaching and instilling is a word we hear a lot today, and that is resilience, and that the students will speak to that. All right, now I'm going to try and get off this slide without re-showing the video. There we go. My second story, community. We create a community for youth that leads them from being a student here to employment. This is just a Instagram post that popped up on our feed and that we were able to heart, like, and share and all of those things. This is an early student of GlassRoots who showed up literally after a decade to check in and say hi to his first glass blowings teacher, Jason, who still works here at GlassRoots. And then he created this whole post about the work that we did here, how he was able to intern, how he was able to see himself as a glass artist, which he is today, with a big thank you to us. And we have youth pepper, or we have young adults and adults peppered around Newark and around the community, not all of who are artists by any means, who have gone into other fields and careers, but tell their story that brings it back to GlassRoots. But I don't have to go far for that story, because as you'll recall my teaser, we do that right here at home at GlassRoots. This is going to be a little hard to see. It's an Instagram reel produced by one of our teaching artists, but I did want to show it and I can narrate a little bit of it. And if you go and follow us on Instagram, you can see it there too.
I know you're somewhere out there, somewhere far away. I want
Richard. Amira. And Early.
Talking to the moon and hiding through the window in my room. There's so much I love to.
So can I just say thank you to all of them for saving those photos through the years, that we were able to find photos of our students.
I know you're somewhere out.
Stop there. And then in their work as teachers. So we missed on that Yazzie and Ray, two of our other current teachers who were students here. Just want to do a shout out as to why I feel as someone new to this, and part of what so impressed me about GlassRoots and really I would say part of the reason I took the job and it was appealing was this story and what it told us about what GlassRoots does. So why is this important that some of our teachers, many of our teachers are former students? And if you think back to the mission, it's about what we do. It's creativity and economic development and vitality. We create jobs. We employ Newark residents. We demonstrate that the arts provide economic opportunities and viable careers. We model for all of our students, as well as anybody that comes into our studios, whether it's the artists, whether it's the campers, the parents, the families. We model for all of them that anyone can work in the arts, in crafts and glass. And as a principal of a high school just said to me yesterday, to expose the students is to expand their possibilities. So to see a Black and brown teaching artist who started as a student here is to expand the possibilities of what anyone can become. All right. Nope, that wasn't it to get me to the next slide. This one throws me off. I'm going to stop share and move it forward. Now let me try one more time.
I know I want.
1 second on this one. Trust me, I practiced that a lot of times.
If any of you have any questions or comments while this is going on, please use the chat and I'll screen those. And then we'll leave some time at the end also for commentary. Carolyn, you're doing a great job. It's fantastic.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to reshare. Any questions before I reshare? Anything, Larry, you want me to comment on?
No, I think let's move ahead and then I'll look for questions in the chat and we'll have some time afterwards.
Okay, so let me not play from current slide. There we go. So 20 years. GlassRoots has been doing this work for 20 years to change the story of glass, but we're not alone. And that's number 4. We have some co-conspirators in this mission about glass arts and who can be glass artists and who can make glass art. One of them is a consortium that came together during COVID, and I'm not sure about people's familiarity with it. GlassRoots was one of the founding members of Glass Impact. And here's the Glass Art Studios that participate. In addition, Pittsburgh Art Glass just joined as well. Credit to all of these founders. I'm so pleased that GlassRoots is one of the founding organizations. My predecessor, Barbara Heisler, the former CEO of GlassRoots, was really instrumental in bringing this group together and making it an entity to think about how collectively across the country we can work together towards this mission. It's been a delight to work with these folks and to think about what we can do as a full unit. Because glass art, right, and art studios are so place-based, I think about Newark, but this gives us a chance to think more widely about glass arts and of course the whole industry. In addition, we've just started working with an organization called Crafting the Future. I encourage you also to become familiar with another organization that's looking at the state of the where for pathways into arts and crafts fields for BIPOC artists. We're going to be working on an internship with them this winter that brings together, Crafting the Future has brought us together with our neighbors Urban Glass in Brooklyn to provide an internship for a couple of young emerging artists who are interested in going into glass arts as their career, to work on glass making and again, the business skills of being a glass artist and working in the arts movement. And so we're going to be working on it with a couple of them this winter, which we're very excited about. Okay, let me check my time. I'm going to skip this video, but I'll send it to you all later if you'd like. And good luck on doing that, right? What I want to do is turn to, this is GlassRoots at 20. We just celebrated our 20th year. we did that word, which I'm sick of. We pivoted during COVID. We figured out how to take glass home with you, how to do visual glass arts classes. It's mosaics that we mostly did, where we would send kids home to offer all kinds of lectures, opportunities like this one today. But let's be honest, at the end of the day, we are so grateful to be back. Glass Arts is a place. It's not done virtually. And so we're glad to be back and thinking about our future. Our programs are back up and in person. We're not fully functional in that way. We're still missing our school groups. Most of all, our field trips have not come back, but we do have classes. We have our after school program. We're working with artists in our hot shop. And we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about the next 20 years and beyond. And I'm excited to say we're moving soon. We're moving here. Here is about 5 minutes away, also in downtown Newark. It's a 19th century hospital building that was abandoned and is now being repurposed as a place called the Newark Arts Commons. We are not the whole building. We are the bottom floor and the basement. Above us will be artist studios, and above that will be apartments. We're not running those. We're just running GlassRoots on the bottom floor in the basement. We're going to be part of an arts corridor in downtown Newark that goes from the Performing Arts Center to the museum, to us, to Rutgers. You turn the corner, you go down the avenue, you pick up NJIT and their makerspace. So that's the New Jersey Institute of Technology. You hit the Arts High School, and you end up at a new place in another repurposed 19th century building called Makerhoods that will also be a place for artists and craftspeople. It's going to be a really vibrant corner that we're going to help create an arts space there. So that's the building. You can see the old building, what it looks like now, kind of cleaned up. That's our floor plan. So it's going to be 4 times our current size. And I have to take a breath every time I say that. It's a lot bigger than we are now. It is, we go from 1 furnace to 2, from 2 glory holes to 4, everything that's involved with being a larger space like that. We add a gift shop and a coffee shop, a classroom learning center, and an event space. We also add a gallery, which we haven't had before, which is huge in Newark, to add a new visual arts space for glass artists, for Newark artists, for New Jersey artists, for international artists. And we're thrilled to be joining this community as well. Let me just, I guess, to quickly, you'll be coming in the door. Oops, my little pictures are blocking me. You're coming in the door here. Here's our reception room, which is, hold on to that thought for a second. Hot shop over here, the other glass making spaces. I want to show you one space, or tell you about this one space right here, which I'm particularly fond of. It's a student lounge for our students. And they were asked when the kind of exercise and what did we need, what was it going to look like, what kind of spaces they would like. And this is going to be for our teens, not for staff, not for everybody else, that kind of place they can come after school and hang out, their space. There'll be some computers and other things that are outfitted, but it's their space, and they asked for, it's the space they asked for. So I'm excited about that as a component. Oops. There we go. Some artist renderings of the space. So you're looking at the whole building. We're this floor right here through. You can see our entryway and what it looks like if you've come for a cup of coffee over here. And you're looking into that glass garage door that opens up, and you're going to be able, there's going to be a furnace right there, and you can watch the glass blowing while you enjoy your cup of coffee. It's really exciting to think about what this is going to be. Challenges as we move, scaling up and paying for it, of course. We are delighted we're moving into this space. Larry had asked about what we, where we were. We're moving into the space debt-free, thanks to our amazing supporters and board members, et cetera. We will be growing our programs. And so that's going to be our challenge is how we fund and fundraise for new programs, new tools and supplies to be fully functional, but it will happen gradually. You're probably going to ask me when, and it's a construction problem. It's in construction. If I hear supply chain delays one more time when I go to visit, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but we're hoping we're talking next year, and you're all invited to the opening. So our challenges. Of course, it's going to be about raising the money, et cetera, for the new space. But when we go back to look at who we've been and what our mission is, our challenge is we've kind of done this backwards, right? We have started as an educational program, and we're going to be morphing into what looks like a more traditional arts center, as opposed to the other way around, starting with all the pieces and then adding education. So how do we do that in a way, become more traditional in outward appearance while maintaining all that work we've done over 20 years that's core to who we are? How do we continue to create community that's safe? And that's a word that comes up a lot when I talk with principals and community leaders. How do we create a space that is safe, supportive, creative, and dynamic? How do we create a place that is accessible and inviting? The glass garage doors that open wide to the community are a metaphor for it. As to how we do it, a place that doesn't have the barriers. And I started in art museum education. I know about the barriers that a building speaks of. How do we do that without creating that barriers as we become bigger and more entrenched in a space? Our vision, we're going to do it by reaching every Newark student is going to have an experience in our flame shop, our hot shop, our flat shop. We want them all to be coming through our spaces so that it becomes a part of what Newark students do. We expand our programs around what's called workforce development, around careers. We expand our programs around entrepreneurship. We expand our work with artists, not just the rental, but artists in residence, which we have played with but haven't really done. We plan to establish that program. Gallery shows that show their work and others. And all of these folks will be working with our studio assistants and our students who come from Newark. At the same time, we don't forget to expand our presence outside of GlassRoots. We go into the community, into the schools, to the community fairs and the festivals in every ward and every neighborhood. We become an economic driver on that corner. We have a coffee shop that's open early morning to late at night. We have programs that go into the evening. We have events. We become a destination for people from around, not just Newark and Essex County, but all of Northern New Jersey, and all of you are welcome. We become a tourist destination. We remain accessible and open without restrictions or barriers. And we really become a model to other organizations about how you do that, how you create a glass center that's in the city, of the city, and belongs to all of its residents. We will be a creative placemaker at the corner of MLK and Central that you're looking at right now by bringing students, downtown workers, and tourists from all over Northern New Jersey and beyond to make art, to buy art, and experience the magic of glass. Now, my last piece. Back to this. Okay, I promised another work of art, and that's where I am right now. I want to tell you about a work of art that has been commissioned for a new space. It's called Makers. It's by Dean Allison, I know is on the call today. I have a few pictures of Dean making the piece and prepping it. And I want to, before I bring Dean on and talk a little bit more, I want to bring on this woman right here. Her name is Yasmine Graham. She was one of the models for the sculpture. And Yasmine was a student at GlassRoots, and now she works for us. She is a recent graduate of Kane University. She holds a BFA in architecture, and we are thrilled that she serves as a teaching artist as well as our social media expert. And Yazzie, can you unmute yourself?
Can you
Sounds
hear
like I
me?
have you. Yes, thanks, Yazzie.
Okay.
So Yazzie and I talked. Before I talk about the sculpture, I just thought everybody would be interested in learning a little bit more about Yazzie, and she could talk like all of our artists. I think you could probably spend another couple hours talking about GlassRoots, but we don't have that time. So we settled on a couple questions, if you don't mind, if I can just ask Yazzie and she can share with you some of her experience here at GlassRoots. So my first one, Yazzie, what was the best part about being a student here?
For me, the best part about being a student at GlassRoots was probably having the access to glass, like you mentioned already. Most people don't even know they want to experience glass until they see it or experience it for the first time, and then they kind of get captivated, which is the same for me. I was fortunate enough to do what was called B&E, was the business entrepreneurship class, now called Yes, for multiple years in a row. And I did that after school in lieu of going to like a sports club or something like that. Just because I have more of a connection to art than I did to anything else. It's walking distance. I went to Art High, which you mentioned earlier. It's walking distance from my high school. So I would walk literally maybe 5 to 7 minutes from my school to GlassRoots, get some pizza from around the corner, and then I'd glass blow until my parents told me to come home. So it was pretty fun. I made friends that I wouldn't have otherwise met. It helped build confidence because you're experiencing something that is really, really dangerous, but also you're learning all the skills you need to be using that thing in a safe way. And there's no room for error in that way. So you really build confidence quickly by learning and experiencing glass firsthand.
So what's the best part about working here now?
Instilling those same skills into my students is really weird. It's kind of trippy to see people that look and kind of sound like me or friends that I had growing up coming to GlassRoots. Even I think maybe yesterday or day before yesterday, we had some students that came to our after school program. And Kate, who's my coworker, said that one of the students reminded her of me. And I was like, what do you mean? And she said, she's just like shy and like on her own in the corner. And that's literally how I started off. And now I'm teaching people and I don't even think twice about talking in front of people. So yeah, it's kind of trippy in that way, but I enjoy it.
Great. So thank you. And I know we have another question, but before we do that, the next question is going to be about making this sculpture. And so we have a lot of pictures about the making of this sculpture. I'm going to show you one stop action video. So this is Josh. He's the other model, also a student at GlassRoots. And he is also modeling for this sculpture. And where'd we go? There. Thank you, Dean. There we go. And here it is. I'll just take a moment for you all to take it in. Dean has recently finished the sculpture. It has been packed up in pieces from his studio in Pittsburgh and is now residing in storage in nearby Kearney, New Jersey. But we're delighted that we're going to be able to put it on temporary display if everything goes through nearby in Newark at the Newark Public Library this winter, where it will be on display awaiting the completion of the new GlassRoots space, where it will reside in the entryway into the reception room, so that everyone who comes to GlassRoots sees this sculpture on the way in and sees who we are, what we believe, and who we think that the art makers are. I know Dean is on the call too, and I don't know, I'm going to ask Yazzie a question first, and then maybe Dean can unmute and say just something about it. But Yazzie, everyone wants to know, what was it like to model for this sculpture?
The stop action was a pretty good, that was like perfect. I really wanted to do this mostly because the goop, like the explanation about the goop going onto your head wasn't enough and I wanted to experience it. And so that stop action was perfect. It was cold and then it was like comfortable. I'm not claustrophobic, so I was kind of just like taking a nap with the cover over your head. Um, we were in those positions that you saw. Josh was in his position for a while. That was a sped up version, but it was a process to get each and every part of this sculpture. And so it's going to be life size, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's life size. So Dean, can I add you? Can you unmute? And Dean's a little bit on the spot here. I didn't really tell him what I wanted to ask. Is he still on the call? Sorry.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, great. So Dean, would you mind? We had a great conversation. It was like last week or the week before, and you told me why you titled it, what you did. Would you mind sharing that with everyone?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with this piece. Originally, it was kind of a year project that went on to about a 2-year project, just with everything that's happened in the world. You know, there was just a lot of time spent about thinking what an appropriate title was, what, a lot of things of, what I do is portraiture and figure, and, as being true to historical renderings of portraiture, but also just as ambassadors to the program. And being someone who has worked in glass, blown glass for over 20 years, and then has found other ways to utilize just the medium of glass and processes and techniques, and really interested in historical and traditional ways of making. To me, the most appropriate title was just Makers, because it just talks about the heart of a desire to want to make with your hands, want to having this this energy or this bug, this germination of wanting to produce something in a creative way, and it's enduring, it's challenging, it's something that takes strength and a very sense of being to continue to do that as a career or a hobby profession, some way that is confident in yourself, an honesty of confidence. So that's kind of what I titled it that, without really talking to anybody about it, but so it doesn't need to stay that way, but that was what I thought it to be as something that I made. But just quickly, it was a real honor, and I was very lucky to work with Yazzie and Josh, because they were just, the piece became what it was because we did this initial life cast, but spending time with them, having the pictures that Mercedes took, really enabled me to kind of get an insight to just their personality in some surreal kind of way, and bring that out somehow in the sculpture.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled, Dean. We're thrilled that Yazzie and Josh were the models, and that what you've produced, I've only seen it in these pictures. And I went to visit the storage facility this week, and I just wished I had X-ray vision that I could see through the crates that they're in. And I can hardly wait to see you in person when you come to put it all together. I'm just going to conclude. I told you I had 2 glass pieces. I'm going to add one for my last slide, and it's a mosaic that was created here at our studios in June, and we call it a community mosaic about GlassRoots. It's about 3 by 4 feet. Those hands are students, young people, community members, board members, former board members and staff, who were all invited to come and mosaic their hand in any way they wanted on this board that will be installed along with the sculpture in GlassRoots in a new space, to always remind us about who we are and what we make, and and why we do and what we can do to inspire and to ignite. So I thank everybody for the time. I can talk forever, so I will be quiet now or answer any questions. I'll drop my email into the chat, but I will also stop sharing and turn this back over to Larry, I think, or Linda, who can tell me what's next.
Well, first, Carol, I just want to thank you. Your presentation was remarkably inspirational. I hope everyone felt the same way I did. I see the chairman of your board, Roger Tucker, there looking pretty happy. Great job. And it was really, really phenomenal. Dean, thanks for giving your take on the whole project. And Yasmine, thank you. There are a few questions. One question from Charles Shepard, who's the director of the Fort Wayne Museum of Art. He asked, does GlassRoots have an annual appeal to help you do this good work?
Oh, of course we do. And we would be delighted to add names to the list. I have dropped my email in the chat if you just want to reach out to me. We also, you can go onto our website, www.glassroots.org, and join our mailing list. We send out a monthly Looking Glass newsletter to tell you about what's coming up. It'll also keep you apprised of our move as we get further along. But because we are an education space at its roots, we of course depend on the generosity of our donors and our supporters. Our, just for example, our Giving Tuesday campaign is going to be about every $20 pays for a Newark student to come on a field trip here. So we really appreciate and depend on that support. So thanks for the question.
Howard, you want to ask your question?
I think you may have answered it, but Carol, I was wondering, what are some of the most pressing needs or priorities that you have right now or for the future?
We have some new programs that we want to build out. And so we're looking for some support for our college and career program. I would say that's a brand new program that's pressing. We will be putting together a wish list as we move into our new space about the kinds of, as I said, tools and equipment we need to kind of do the fit and finish on it when we move. We continue to need more staff. If you want, it's not very sexy, but we could use some help in some marketing and outreach from a staff level as well. I'm going to see if Roger wants to add to the list.
Well, Carol, I think you gave a very concise list of our needs. Again, the donations, the volunteers, we'll be looking for volunteers throughout the year for a variety of our programs. So if you have a particular skill or experience that you can share with us, that would be absolutely fantastic. So that's about, donations, volunteering. If you know of particular glass artists that might be interested in either teaching and or exhibiting or even renting our space, that would also be very helpful. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great, wonderful, wonderful program.
I see that Dina, do you want to add a comment?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. And I want to thank all of you for joining us in this. I really had the great joy and luck to be one of the co-founders. And a lot of you know Ralph and I as glass collectors, but nothing has been as remunerative and as satisfying as seeing the great strides that GlassRoots has wrought in so many of our students. It's incredible, and as Carol had said, I really hope that we can spread this program to other cities throughout the country, because I think it is very special. Thank you.
Washington, D.C. needs you, sister, let me tell you.
Hey, Tim, why don't you see if they'll send a busload of students down to see you guys? And
We'd happy to talk to them anytime, but we're one of the largest urban environments with no real glass program. So now you're giving us a great model to follow. We appreciate it from all of you. I got to tell you, Carol and Dina, hey, Roger, I wish this were here. That's the only thing I envy. It's on my wish.
So
We are happy to help.
and I think, Dina, it was good to hear from you. And I think that everyone should know that in our conversations in developing this program with Carol, they are GlassRoots, and I think all the other consortium of community-based organizations in Glass Impact, we're trying to reach out to them, and GlassRoots has agreed to honor the International Year of Glass and the 60th anniversary of the Contemporary Studio Glass movement in their programming for 2022. So that should be an interesting and productive collaboration throughout the country.
And Larry, I can't think of anything better for us to open in our space in that year.
Fantastic. Agreed. Does anyone else have any comments before we stop the recording? And then you can stay on if you want to chat for a little while afterwards.
If any of your students can make a sculpture as good as Allison's, which I think he's the only one on earth who could have created that, it's high praise indeed. So if you're starting with that as the bar that's being raised, God help them. But they should do better. I love it.
And they will. I mean,
know.
Dean is amazing, but I promise they will.
Thank you, Tim, but it just takes determination, which everybody has.
It was really great also to hear from Yasmine. I really appreciated her coming on, and
oh yeah,
I wanted to just kind of emphasize some things that she touched on, which is that, what it did to build her confidence, and the fact that it gave her an outlet when she wasn't really a sports person as a student. And I think that that's just something that's so critical with these programs for kids, with cyberbullying and all of the challenges that kids have to deal with now that weren't there 30 years ago. High school has just become an increasingly difficult space, and glass is just such a magical material. And, it has that mystery, it has that little touch of danger, and it really provides such an incredible sanctuary for kids that just don't fit into that football stereotype, and who maybe feel like they would get judged otherwise if they were in the corner writing poetry or what have you. It's a way for people to be artistic and yet still in something that, is a little bit physical and different and exciting. And I think has just been really critical, I know locally here also, in helping with kids that are really prone to suicide from the pressures of school. It just is an incredible sanctuary for them as well. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and I'm really excited that you're getting this award.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to borrow your use of the word sanctuary. I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. So much gratitude.
Well, thank you again. And truly, this was an honor for us to honor you. And I want to wish you, all of you who are on this Zoom at GlassRoots, we want to wish you lots of success in the future. And we look forward to collaboration in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry.